Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Today we're answering a question from one of my viewers. And that question was something along the lines of, John, I pre-wash my car, and I think it was Built Hamber Touchless he was using, so a snow foam. I pre-wash it with the snow foam and rinse it off. And then I put more snow foam back on the car and I do my contact wash and I get great results. So why do I need another contact shampoo, and can I just wash my car with a foaming pre-wash? Okay, great question, great question. The simple answer is there is a reason there is two products, and that reason isn't really just to sell you two products, I think. Although you never know. You never know. But here's the difference between them, okay? So generally, snow foam pre-washes like these that you put in your snow foam lance, you blast out, you leave them for 5 to 10 minutes, don't let them dry. They soak into the dirt film, you know, that film we get in the UK. They break it down and it starts to run off the car, they soften it, and then you blast it off with a pressure washer, and the theory is you remove 90% of the dirt so that when you go in and make contact and rub the surface of your paintwork, there's a lot less of that abrasive, scratchy dirt getting picked up. You're not getting a dirty kind of mitt, you know, with that edge of brown dirt on it every time you make contact with the panel. So it's just a sensible precaution for reducing like the scratching and hazing that builds up on your clear coat. And I think it's an absolute kind of must, especially in the UK climate, you know, that pre-washing, I think in any cold climate where you get films is a real lifesaver, really important detailing fundamental. Now let's talk about the chemicals and the formulations. These are generally designed and formatted to be free rinsing. They are, you hear the word kind of lubrication, you know that these things provide lubrication for the paint. Well, as far as I know, these contact shampoos can contain different blends of surfactants and perhaps things like glycols. I'm not 100% sure on that, which are, you know, do provide lubrication. But also these tend to be milder because they are really working with your wash mitt. So when you're making the contact wash on the car, rubbing over the paintwork with this is taking off all of the dirt, and that's doing most of the work. It really is. So you could use a bucket, you could pre-wash and use a bucket of water and go over and get the last of it. So what this contact shampoo is supposed to really be doing is helping this get that dirt off the surface. Now, I think with the contact shampoos, you also get the inclusion of cationic surfactants, which are designed to try and, you know, they're attracted to the panel and they're supposed to lift the dirt off of the panel, but also perhaps the things that lubricate more. So these are generally milder, okay, and a bit more slippery and kind of slimy and slidey on your mitt. Whereas these can be all sorts of things. Sometimes they can be a bit kind of chalkier and not kind of so slimy and slidey. That's what I've noticed. So the difference in formulation is that these will be, you know, more free rinsing, although they can contain cationic components, but typically they will use things like alcohol ethoxylates, that, you know, that's in auto foam, really strong degreasing agents, and just a different formulation to these, which will contain other forms of surfactants that are milder, and these tend to be pH neutral because, like I say, it's the contact of the wash mitt picking up the dirt at that stage that is important, and these are just trying to give you a little bit of cleaning. It's like cleaning a really clean plate. If you put the plate into soak in hot water and dishwasher for 5 or 10 minutes, all of the stuck on food and stuff dissolves and comes off, but you take the plate out and it's still got bits on it. So then you go over it with your little dish sponge and some fairy liquid, you know, and it's that contact thing. And you don't use a scouring pad to clean a nice, expensive Chinese, you know, porcelain plate, because you'll scratch the surface. So it's really quite simple, guys. I think generally you would want to use a pre-wash first, rinse it off, and then use a dedicated contact shampoo of your choice. We've gone through all of those and provided you with recommendations, what I think are the best. But ultimately, there's very few poor shampoos on the market that cause problems. There might be the odd one out there, but 99.9% of them are absolutely fit for purpose. And for me, it just comes down to one that I feel is good quality and offers me a good cost per wash, because the variance in cost per wash can be as little as 3p per wash for the one that won the test, I think. That was the Carchem 1900 to 1 contact shampoo, up to like £1.20 per cost per wash. It's a huge difference. And I can't tell the difference from using the really expensive one to using like the 1900 to 1, and that's why it won. Now, some of the exceptions, that in hot climates, not all hot climates, because like if you've got in a desert, for example, you might get loads of desert dust on your car. So going in, you know, if you're in parts of the world, you know, the Middle East or, you know, Arizona, California, you know, parts where you get dust all over your car, then I think that pre-wash is quite good. You might be able to just pre-rinse with water though, if it's just that, and that will rinse it, most of it off. But other parts of the world that are just kind of hot, you might find that your car hasn't got any road film on it, and the pre-wash isn't doing much really anyway. You might have some bugs on the front, you might have, you know, whatever, some greasy bits on it, but you haven't got all this kind of plastered on film with dirt, and you might just want to spray your contact shampoo onto the car and just gently contact wash it, and that's going to work absolutely fine as well. So you've got to do whatever you think works best for you. I think the key thing is just when you're contacting the panels, just make sure you're not really going in heavy-handed. Sometimes some of that dirt, especially after a track day, needs a bit of pressure to get it off. But when you're doing that, you know, that carries a little bit more risk with it, but you know, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, really, I think whenever you're touching your clear coat, no matter what you're doing, if you're shampooing it and cleaning it, if you're drying it, if you're spraying detail spray on it, if you're buffing off compound and polish, really, you always want to kind of just think this clear coat is what's delivering my finish. So I just want to be a little careful that I'm not going heavy-handed, because if you do encounter dirt or something, or the clear coat's ridiculously soft, then that can sort of put in very fine hazing, or even a scratch. If you hit a bit of contamination and rip it off the paint when you're buffing or polishing or something and move it around, you can scratch. It's like whenever you get a car that you see and it belongs to people that are not into detailing, you go round it, you'll often find like a little bit of bird etching, and where the bird etching is, you'll see all these scratches where they've grabbed a bit of tissue and then like buffed the hell out of the bird etching, and then notice they've scratched it, or it's got bird etching behind, and gone and got some cheap compound by hand and rubbed the hell out of it, and then it's got all hazy and covered in lines. I've seen that tons. So that's an example of how you don't want to look after your clear coat. But hopefully we've covered everything you need to know about pre-washes and contact washes. They are slightly different formulations, and I've always had both. So there we go. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all that. I haven't found a product yet that can do both to what I want, or else I would be using that. So I tend to use two, but there are products out there. I had the Turtle Wax shampoo, I've got it in the cupboard somewhere, and the Maguire's Snow Foam that said, you know, if it's not dirty, you could spray it on and contact clean. If it's dirty, you could spray it on, rinse off, then go again, spray it back on and contact clean. I'm sure they said that. Apologies if they didn't. So there are products out there, tends to be more the American ones, that are more like foams that you could use as a pre-wash, but those foams don't have the cut when you have road film that you need to get that abrasive film off that's all over the car in the UK. You see it, we're in March now, but you still drive around it and we've got the remnants of winter and half the cars are covered in road film still. That's the problem that we have to deal with here, and that's a problem that is solved very well by using a proper pre-wash, blasting it all off before you go in and make contact. Okay, thanks very much. Hope that was a useful video. It might be to some people. If it was, don't forget to subscribe. If it wasn't, don't forget to subscribe. Otherwise, adios.